Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our Tech webinar series where we will be providing tech tips to support the implementation of your smart software and hardware. In today's hands-on session, you'll learn the basics of setting up your smart remote management domain, adding new users and devices, and creating commands. Now, today's webinar is our Tech to Tech Smart Remote Management. My name is Paris, and I am a customer success manager located in Washington State. Now, we do encourage participation. I will be supporting in the chat today, so we do encourage that participation. Like I said, I'll be supporting in the chat today. If you have any questions or ideas, drop them in the chat during the presentation, and I will either integrate them into the flow or hold them to be answered at the end. Be sure to keep an eye on the chat, especially towards the end, as we will be sharing a link to many resources from today's webinar, and we'll also be providing a link to a brief survey that, once completed, gives you access to your PD certificate for learning with us today. Now, with that being said, we will dive right into it. Now, first things first, what is smart remote management? Smart remote management, or SRM, as you'll hear me refer to either one in this presentation, is Smart's version of the mobile device management, or MDM, software. This does allow you to communicate with multiple devices online from a remote session anywhere with internet access. And this is the only MDM that does work with smart boards, so just something to keep in mind. And then just another thing to keep in mind too, some network configuration may be required. Now, at the end of the presentation, I will provide resources that go over network configuration. So if you wanted to dive into that, like I said, I'll have some slides on that at the end here. Now, first things first, we're just going to go over that login and setup. Logging in to the Smart Remote Management portal, you'll just need to set up your domain account and register your SRM coupon code. That's the first thing to get started there. You will do this at mdm.smarttech.com. And if you are going to be using Smart Remote Management a lot, I definitely suggest just bookmarking this so you don't lose that link there. And the first time that you get your account set up, it is going to set you up with a 30-day trial account until you have activated the coupon codes that you have. So the admin authority, they can add or manage additional admins. My next slide is just going to go over, what that setup looks like. So registering, this is that screen you will see. But the initial user account is always going to be admin at domain. Like I said, this is that admin authority. The domain restrictions, English characters, lowercase letters, and numbers. So when you're setting this up, it doesn't have to have that .com at the end. And actually, it won't set it up if you put a .com. You have to remove it. So your username is just going to be that admin at domain. I suggest keeping it the same as your school or district's domain, just so you don't forget it. But of course, don't forget, you have to keep off the .com, .net, .org. And then, of course, you can register with your email address. So you'll type in, your district email address there and the rest of that information. And then I do just like to put this disclaimer that if you lose your admin authority account, our support team can help you. And at the end, my resources do have a link to our support page where you can fill out a ticket for them there. Now, just diving right into things, we're going to talk about enrolling your devices. Now, this screen is specific to our IQ3 panels. Our IQ3 panels are our 6000S series and our MX series going from V1 to V4. So those panels are going to have IQ3. Now, when you set up Smart Remote Management from the board, we're registering that device. You will go in and ensure that you're signed out. So this little smiley face does let us know that we are not signed into any account. So like I said, just ensure you're signed out. We're going to navigate to the settings for the panel and then scroll all the way down to the bottom here, and you'll see remote management. We'll click on that, of course. We are going to select this enable. So we're going to enable smart remote management. And then from there, we're going to need to launch those remote management settings by clicking on this option here at the top. I did put a little notice too, we do advise taking these steps during the initial installation. It just makes it a little bit easier, if we have a whole bunch of boards out there, getting this set up right at the beginning is a lot easier than setting up smart remote management on your computer and then going around to register each device. Of course, it can be done, but just something to keep in mind. And then I also have this screenshot here to talk about enrolling your device on those IQ4 and GX panels. Now, this screenshot is from our GX. What you'll do from GX is you're going to select your app option, and then you'll see this little smart remote management app available to you. And otherwise, the settings are the same. Now, your IQ4, that's going to be your RX panel and your MXV5. It's the same thing, it's just not gonna look exactly the same. You just have to navigate to the apps on the IQ4 panel, and then you're gonna find that same smart remote management app to get that set up there. Okay, beautiful. So enrolling those devices, once I start clicking on my smart remote management settings, this is the screen that I'm gonna see on the panel here. Users are given the option to do a simple enrollment by just entering their domain name here. I do like to advise doing the advanced wizard setup due to additional options like tags. We'll talk about those tags in just a moment here. But these options are also available post install or post enrollment via remote access. But just something to keep in mind, I really do suggest doing that advanced wizard, mostly for the tags. I think that's the most important aspect here. So, just a little screenshot of what this advanced wizard setup looks like. You're going to start by entering that domain name that you use to register your admin authority account here. And then you're going to type in that MDM server address. Now, here is where we're going to talk a little bit about tags. It'll come up a few other times during the presentation. But when you're in this setup, you're going to see the option to add tags. Now, these are great to help group devices when sending network-wide commands. I did put a little disclaimer, devices can have multiple tags, and this does allow you to update, deploy software to certain devices or at different times. And they can always be added or changed from the remote management console post this install or this registration here. So as you can see from my example, this specific board, I tagged it demo, I tagged it support, and I tagged it test. Now, when you're done, this is the final screen that you're going to see. You will see that serial number for the device. You'll see the domain, and then you'll also see any of your tags. As you guys can see, this is Mac board. So our tag here, just for our internal smart purposes, was just Mac. Now, non-smart devices, you can control more than just your smart boards. So you can get full control of iOS, Android, and Windows devices. You do just need the right app. So for Android, of course, we're going to use that Vizio app. It is available in the Google Play Store. iOS, you need that volume purchase plan rollout. Windows, there's a downloadable exe file. And Chrome, there is an available extension. Now, just to keep in mind, each device will require its own license or own credits. So just keep that in mind if you do want to register other devices outside of your smart boards. Now, let's dive right in. We'll start talking about the user interface. My first page, this is really just the first screen that we're going to see when we sign in. This dashboard is showing an overview of recent domain activity. And if enabled, they will see the device locations on the map. Just know if you do want to see locations, that's where you're going to want to ensure that you have that network configuration set up. Then I did put an arrow here. This little button, this is our home page, the page that we're seeing. If you ever need to get back to your home page, it's just that first little option, those 4 squares there. Now, the next thing we want to do after signing in is activating your license. So I have, the screenshot here on the screen going over how to activate your license. But one thing that I didn't talk about prior to this screen was where you find those coupon codes. So, in order to find your coupon codes, you do need to go to your smart admin portal. Now, normally you're just using your smart admin portal to manage the users who have access to your smart software. So that would be Smart Notebook and Lumia. But in order to get your coupon codes for smart remote management, you do need to hop into your smart admin portal. And on the main screen, when you're on that software tab, of course, at the top, you're going to see your Lumia standard plan and notebook subscription. But down at the bottom, there is a section that says other smart software. Once you expand that, you will see all the coupon codes for smart remote management. Once you copy those, you're going to come over to Smart Remote Management. You'll click on your little icon in the top right-hand corner. You're going to go down to billing, and then you'll paste those codes right here. Now, if you have any questions about accessing those codes, you can always contact me or our customer success team. Just for the sake of today, I'll put my email in the chat. So if you do have questions, you can reach out to me and I will either get you to the right person or I should always be able to help you out as well. Perfect. Perfect. Now, user management, only the admin authority can see this user window as shown. They can add or remove new users, reset passwords, and change user permission. So in order to get to this user management window, first I just need to click on that little people icon on that left-hand side, and then clicking on the plus button over here on our right-hand side will allow us to add any additional users to access smart remote management. Now, moving along to our device management window, this gives an overview of all the devices that are currently registered to the domain with an associated status. A user can also begin controlling the devices by clicking on them individually and issuing commands directly. Of course, just to get to that device management window, we're selecting this little icon. To me, this looks like a little laptop and maybe a phone, or maybe that's a smart board, right? Now, here we are talking about tags again. Once we're in that device management window, I can click on these three little dots next to any device, and I'm going to see all these different commands. But if I'm trying to change my tags, of course, I'll click on tags here. I can remove any tags, I can add any additional tags, and once I'm done, I will hit confirm. Now, once I've selected a device, I'm in that device management section. I click on a device. This is what I am going to see. You will have access to issue commands directly from this space via that command list on the right-hand side. This is also a great little snapshot to see a few things. You can see your storage, memory. You can also see recent apps that have been open. So just something to keep in mind there. Now, if you wanted to start a remote session, this little box will open up. This allows a user to now manipulate the device as if they were in the same room. You just don't have access to ink or touch, but you do have, the ability to click any of the buttons or anywhere on the screen, and then you can access these options as well to go back, go home, all of that good stuff there. And of course, that option is accessed by the remote button, our first option here on the right-hand side. Now, you can manage multiple devices at a time by filtering via groups. This is where tagging devices becomes important. All devices, when first added, are tagged new, for example, but of course, you can customize these groups. Select the three dots besides the group name to send commands to that entire group. So here I am, I'm in that device window, click on groups, and then I can select the three dots to send commands to that entire group there. It is also possible to manually select multiple boards and issue commands directly from the dashboards. These commands are sent via the top menu bar. So again, clicking on just a few devices that I want to send my commands to, and then in my menu bar, here I have my different commands. And don't forget, you do have more actions on that far right-hand side to show the rest of the commands that are available. Now, command window, this displays all the commands that have been sent and their success. So clicking on a command will give additional information. You just need to select this option over here on that left-hand side to view all of your commands. And this is where you can see that command status. My next page here is going to show an example of what it looks like when you open up a specific command. So a failed command, this does give indication of the reason for the failure. And after clicking open the command, you can select more information here to get further explanation to help troubleshoot why that command had failed to send. Yeah, perfect. I always just like to make sure that everybody is aware of the ad hoc support. So for remote troubleshooting, you can generate a one-time code for your board to allow a support agent to connect. This is done from the SRM window of the smart board itself. So on the board, I access those smart remote management settings again. I can click on the three dots to open up that ad hoc session. I can also do it from smart remote management itself. It's this third icon here in the top right-hand corner when you're on devices. From there, it'll open up and you will have the ability to type in that ID. Of course, you can always reach out directly to our support team, but this is just something to keep in mind. You do have this ad hoc session available. Now, let's talk a little bit about actually using these commands. We've really just been going over the interface, what it looks like, but let's dive into actually utilizing these commands and how they work. So we have our ready-made commands. Smart Remote Management comes preloaded with the following command setup. Most of these categories do have drop-downs. Depending on the connected device, you'll have different options available, but all of these options will be displayed. So schedule and trigger is for setting up commands on a timed or triggered event. Power commands allow you to restart or shut down, noting that a shutdown does require you to go into that room to turn the board back on. The wake on LAN command is specific to some certain smart board displays. Again, the resources that will be shared at the end will have information on all of these things, so I'll be sure to share those with you guys. Lock allows you to put certain devices in a locked state. To retrieve the password from a locked device, you'll need to use that get password option. Siren will emit an audible siren from the device, and wipe will apply a factory reset. Siren is very loud. I've tested it on my own device. So if you do admit the siren, it is very loud. And then the manage dropdown is specific to the management of the said device, of course, allowing things like tags, names, password change. You can remove the Google account. This will remove any Google account from an Android device. Now, perfect. Reset authentication token, of course, that's under that manage tab. If a board is removed from the domain, it does require an authentication token reset. Now, this can be done during the board setup or when connected to an existing device. And just keep in mind that admin credentials are required if we're going to utilize this reset authentication token option. Now, advanced commands are a bit beyond the scope of the presentation today, although we will look at sending install packages and files today. One thing to highlight, though, is the workflow command is for scripting commands like having a file install package, update, app installation, etc. I do have a full guide here, so I'm going to copy this and paste it in the chat for you. Now, again, you'll see I have just selected this option here to expose all of the advanced commands. So let's dive into it and let's take a look at installing packages here. So in order to send apps to a device, you must first create an install package. There's, of course, a variety of ways to upload a file to your domain, and I have the different options here for ways to install a package. Here is an example of a package. This example is just, me installing Zoom on a panel. There is a restriction from Google that anything requiring Google Play services cannot be loaded onto a large format display. So you will notice, some apps aren't always going to work when you're trying to download those onto your smartboard. Now, we're going to take a look at an example of a package, and we're going to see an example from a package from the Play Store. So here we are building the package. You'll see for this example, I have selected from the Play Store. All you need to do is copy the URL from the Play Store for that app, and selecting sync will just populate all of this information, so you don't have to type all of this in. If you're sending to a Windows device, just keep in mind that you may need some additional programming language. Perfect, perfect. So I do have, let's see, I think I have a file next. Yeah, so sending files. So of course that previous example was sending an app to a board, but if you're looking to send a file to a board, and the name of this command I just set up is send to public files, you do have to enter in your destination. So for a computer, if you're sending to a computer, pretty self-explanatory, right? You're going to use whatever location that you want for that computer. Of course, you can see this example was just my downloads in my C drive. For the smartboard, to send files to your board's public files, you do have to do this /SD card /download. And another thing to keep in mind is that only certain types of files are usable on the smartboard, like images and PDFs. Of course, those resources that I'm going to share today are going to have tons of information on all of this. Now, using workflows. Workflows do allow you to put several commands together. So you can see here, I've clicked on my repository menu on that left-hand side, and I have exposed the workflow option. Here's an example of a workflow. I just named this workflow 1. So here I am. I can send a specific file to my public files there, and I'm also going to install my Zoom package. Now, to deploy this advanced commands, you're going to select the device you wish to send it to first, and then you're going to select the command from the repository menu and the actions along the top. You can also select the repository from the device window or from the group window. Of course, there's a few different options there. So you can see, I've selected my devices. If I wanted to utilize these actions, I could expose that here, or I could always click on that repository menu on that left-hand side. Now, to deploy those advanced commands here, I'm deploying my install package of Zoom. I have selected my packages. I select my Zoom package, step 1, and step 2, I just have to go ahead and hit apply. And now we're coming to the end here. So, my last thing here is just about deploying group commands. If I wanted to, deploy a command for a group, I just need to go to my group, click on the 3 dots next to a group, and then select the command that I want to deploy. Now, awesome. Here we are at the end. I have my resources for you guys, and I'm going to put this link in the chat. Of course, this is going to have information about our network configuration, setting up your account, our user manual, getting help, our smart resources, and then our coursework. We do have a free self-paced coursework set up for smart remote management, so you can learn how to use smart remote management on your own. This is a really great course to utilize. I definitely suggest checking it out. And if there's any questions, please feel free to let me know. But I really appreciate you guys attending today. And don't forget to complete the survey. So let me put that in the chat for you guys here. Completing that survey does give you that PD certificate for learning with us today. So really appreciate you being here. And then I do have, let's see, I got a couple other links that I'm going to provide. If you're interested in checking out our other technical webinars, we have one on our Smart Admin portal, and then we also have already set Smart webinars. These are Lumio Notebook and Smart Board webinars. Perfect. Well, you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for joining in with me, and I'll see you at the next webinar. Bye.